Okay, so this is the last video in this tutorial. You can see that since the last one, I just made a very quick lid shape and put it on top. I made it as a separate part. I did it in the same drawing just for speed. And you can see I put a nice draft angle on the extrude so that it's got a nice angle to it. Now we might want to put a little handle on top. We could do all sorts of things with this and have fun with it. But at the moment, I'm going to leave that as it is. Now what I want to do is I want to start assembling this together and making it look now. So the first thing I want to show you is that if I wanted to, I could change the colors of this part inside here just to make it look nice. Now, you can assign materials as well. We can play around with different kinds of materials. We could maybe have a look at some plastics, all sorts of things in here that you could play around with. It doesn't really render them any differently. It doesn't look any different. What you are probably looking for is the appearance and being able to change the color in here. So we could start making things look a different color. So which is slightly different. If we wanted to make something look so that it behaved like a certain material, we could do that. So I've made my shaker purple and my part one, which you can't see at the moment inside here. I'm going to go back to my dice here and I'm going to do it inside here. And I'm going to have a look at edit appearance and let's make the dice red. Okay, so I've got my dice red. Okay, so I've got my nicely colored parts ready to go. Now, this is the last screenshot you need to do where you've got your parts and everything ready and we're going to put them into an assembly. Okay, so we're going to go over to the third tab at the bottom, which you haven't used before, and click on it. And this tab looks very similar. It's got different tools at the top and there's quite a lot in here that we can do. We can kind of attach things together with mating things so that they touch each other and they won't move apart. And we can do all sorts of things. Now, basically what we're going to do is we're going to go and grab the parts really simply and insert them. So where you had sketch before, it now says insert. So we can go and find our parts to use. So there's my dice. And I can put that in, and wherever I click, it's going to drop it. So I can just click it and drop it down. I'm going to zoom out a bit. And here's my Part Studio 2. Now for this, I'm going to import the parts separately. So part 3 is going to come in. I'm going to drop that above it. And part 2 is going to come in, and I'm going to drop that below it. Okay, now this is what we would call an exploded diagram in that I've separated out the parts. I'm not sure they're all in the right place, so I'm going to go and have a look and move them around. Now, the nice thing about an assembly is that I can move things around. I can take photos or screenshots. I can even record different views. They're all in the options and there's loads of stuff to learn. I'm not going to go into too much of it now, but I can have a look. You can see that's not quite lined up. So if I go to the top view, you can see that my dice is not quite lined up. So my part 1, which is the part I want to do, if I select it here, I can move it around in the 3-dimensional shape. And I haven't got to worry about trying to change where sketches have been drawn or anything along those lines. Okay. And I can move it around so that I'm happy with where it is. Okay. And I can do the same thing with the lid. So again, I can identify which one it is. So it's part 3. And then using the selection here to make sure I've got my manipulation tool, I can move it to the correct location on one direction, correct location on the other direction, and then we can move them together. Okay, so I'm just going to try and move that relatively accurately to the right place in this angle, and then go and have a look at it from the other side. You can see it's massively above, so I can bring it down and into it. Okay, so I can position objects, I can design relationships between objects, and you can see here I've got a bunch of tools that you can explore, like how you're joining things together, what you're trying to do. It depends what you're trying to do as to what you want to do. So if I wanted to have a door that swung open, I might have a revolving mate, a revolution mate. That means that I can stick it in one place but allow it to rotate in another, which makes it really easy for people to interact with my drawing. So why don't you have a go at making an assembly? When you do, take a screenshot for our work and pop it in so that we can see what your final project looks like as an assembly. Okay, a little stretch extension for you. If you have the time, you can use these to make a drawing. So if I click on assembly 1, I can make a 2-dimensional drawing. So it says create a drawing. You'll see this pop open at the bottom. Okay, so A3 drawing, I'm going to stick 4 views in straight away, click OK. And this is the power of using computer aided design. It could do a good hour's worth of drawing for you at the click of a button. So hopefully this loads. I didn't try it beforehand. There we go. So I've got my 3-dimensional view, and then I've got you can see the dice is actually below the container there. I didn't check that, did I? And I've got options inside it. I can start adding annotations and all sorts of things. So have an explore at the top again, and you've got a professional looking drawing that has come straight from it. And again, you could print that, save it, download it, whatever you needed to. All right. I think just before I go, feel free to go and get on if you want to, but just before I go, if I wanted to 3D print this object or parts of it, I can do that by exporting them. Okay, the export is on the right click, the same as creating a drawing. And if I want to export it for school, then you want to change the name to your name so that we know whose it is that we're printing. And you want to make sure your units are in millimeters. And please change the format to STL, which is the file format that our drivers need to be able to insert it into the 3D printer. Okay, once you've done that, click export. It will download, okay, onto your computer, and then you can email it to your teacher. All right, that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed these tutorials. Feel free to go a little bit further with them, or even start whichever project you're about to do for real. Congratulations on completing your first course.